usually don't have this. I usually don't have anything written. Every preacher looks for words, looks for perfect words. He looks for all-encompassing, comprehensive words. He looks for words that will totally, completely, finitely express and define the situation at the time. There is no final word that will come from the mouth of any man or woman. God has reserved that for himself. He is the final word. But there are a few things last night that the Spirit gave me that I've wrestled with a little bit, whether or not I should read it. But I know that it's fitting and appropriate, because what's going on in front of everybody right here in this wedding, in this marriage ceremony, is a rapidly diminishing entity. Marriage in this country is on its way out. There's no question about it. There's a lot of religion, but as Rick put it, as the Spirit put it through him, there's very few people in this day that know Jesus. There's a lot of people that go to church. There's a lot of people that read the Bible. But there's few people who know him. It's interesting that, the Hebrew language is so different from our language, or the Greek language, from which most of the Bible has been translated from Hebrew, Aramaic to Greek. But the Hebrew language and the Hebrew culture is the only culture that was created and emanated from God. God gave the Hebrews the Ten Commandments. He didn't give them to anybody else. He gave them to the Jews. And the Jews and the Hebrews became the nation they did because they alone had the Rhema, the word, the voice of God. And down through the history of mankind, different nations have been affected by the Hebrew culture and have been greatly provoked by it. There are few nations in the world that esteem Israel. Few nations. But there will come a time, and this generation will see it, when every nation will bow to the Hebrew nation, the little nation of Israel, because that's where Jesus Christ is coming back, and that's where he'll set his foot, on Mount of Olives, and that's where they will see him. Marriage in the Hebrew language has no one word that describes it. It takes many words to be able to describe marriage. And I want to read to you what the Spirit gave me last night. And obviously this is not all inclusive or comprehensive either. But God's expressed and demonstrated covenant relationship between man and woman is to contain heaven's order and to maintain peace and equity in the earth. Listen to that. God's expressed and demonstrated covenant, the covenantal relationship between a man and a woman, is set in the earth to contain heaven's order and to maintain peace and equity in the earth. And I say that without the marriage contract and the marriage covenant in the earth will surely swing off its axis. Because the marriage covenant between a man and a woman is the core of every civilization. There is not a civilization today or through 4 millenniums of history. Think about this. There is not one nation or culture or civilization through 4 millennial ages of history, of recorded history, that have managed to stand when the marriage covenant, the integrity of the marriage covenant breaks down. That nation, that culture, that civilization deteriorates. It becomes less than it was created to be. This is not a subjective position of this preacher. This is history. 4 millennial recorded ages of history. This country is surely doomed unless the covenant of marriage under God in Christ can begin to once again be proclaimed from the higher offices of government in this land. This nation is history. We need only look. We can look at one past civilization in Rome. And if you know anything about Rome, the United States of America parallels Rome at her height. In culture, in politics, in all of society's ills and vices. And Rome deteriorated from within. That's where we're at today. Now, the reason I say that to you here is not to depress you, but to give you hope. First of all of us that are present at this little gathering show by our presence that we have something continuing in us that can abide the marriage covenant. It also gives us hope for the sake of the testimony. Because regardless of the way that the world goes, regardless of the way that society turns, you and I, under Christ, need to walk uprightly. That word's been used a lot today. The upright man, the man that has integrity, will be kept. The upright man will be blessed in all of his ways. His house will be filled with good things. His life will be a blessing, not a curse. His children, his seed will be blessed upon the earth. Not just this man, but all of you. The reason that marriages fail in this country is because there's no integrity in the covenantal relationship with Jesus. And yes, there are marriages that last 50, 60 years without Jesus. But it's a life of hypocrisy, and it's a life without water. It's a life without seed. It's a life that in the end is meaningless. It will mean nothing. Because everybody will stand before the white throne seat of judgment and give an account one day of their life and their hearts and their motives and their intentions. All of us will do that. Whether you believe in it or not is not the issue here. If you don't believe in it, that's fine. You can argue with Jesus Christ at the white throne seat of judgment. We're not here to contend. But you see, what you and I do and what you and I are partaking of today is something that was begun in the Spirit, in the heavenlies. Something that has been prepared long before you or I sat on these little chairs and had our little lives pop onto the earth. This is nothing new. This is a continuation of something that started before the earth was created. It's up to you and I to grow into it and to manifest it as purely and righteously as we can in our relationship with the Lord.